everyone, my name is Amiki Rubiescas. I'm with Altubi Studios here in Big Bear, California, and today I'm going to show you how to make some flour tortillas. With this recipe you need 4 ingredients, 20 to 30 minutes to put it all together, and you'll end up with about a dozen tortillas. Once you have all the ingredients measured out, in a large bowl, go ahead and add the all-purpose flour and the salt. Give that a quick mix. And go ahead and add the manteca to the flour and the salt. And for this point, you can go ahead and use your hands, a pastry blender, or a fork to go ahead and get the manteca to blend in to get the consistency of rice kernels in the flour. Now with this recipe, the tortillas you're going to get, the style is going to be the Sonora style. There's 2 kinds. The Sonora style is a larger in diameter tortilla but thinner, and the Tex-Mex style is a smaller in diameter but a more thick, bready kind of tortilla. So again, with this recipe you're going to go ahead and get a Sonora style tortilla. At this point you're kind of getting there. They're still kind of big chunks, so go ahead and keep working that in. So we're going to go ahead and add the lukewarm water. Just a little bit. And go ahead and start mixing that with your hand. And we're going to keep doing this until we get a nice big ball of dough from it. And if you have a standing mixer, go ahead and add all the ingredients at the same time like we did for this in the large bowl. Using the paddle attachment, keep it at the lowest setting and keep an eye on it until you get the consistency of such as the one we have here with the manteca blended into the flour pretty well, as such as rice kernels. So once you keep slowly adding the water to the flour and mixing it with your hands, you're going to eventually end up with a ball of dough like this. It's going to be pretty manageable, pretty flexible, and you may have to adjust the amount of water or add a little bit more flour so that your tortilla dough comes out to this consistency. Now at this point, go ahead and set aside the bowl and put it out to a board with a little bit of flour and knead it a couple times. And from here, just go ahead and place it back in the bowl with a cloth over it to let it rest for 20 minutes. So the dough has rested for about 20 minutes now. And right now we're going to go ahead and divide it up into 12 equal parts. And actually before that, you're going to want to go ahead and preheat your cast iron comal. If you don't have one of these griddles, go ahead and use any cast iron skillet that you have. And if you don't have one of these, go ahead and use any heavy weighted pan that you have. Using a dough knife or any other knife that you have, go ahead and cut the dough in half right down the center. And divide each half again. Now with each of these, go ahead and pull apart 3 equal parts from this. So we'll have 1, 2, and 3. And if one piece looks a little bit bigger than the other, go ahead and tear off a little bit from that one and add it to the smaller piece. The dough is very forgiving. And with each of these, go ahead and just fold down the edges a little bit and roll it up into a nice little ball. And I like to keep them in a plastic bag just to keep them from drying out when you have to go ahead and do 11 more. And we'll just keep going through all 12 pieces. With each one, you're going to go ahead and place it on a board lightly floured along with the rolling pin. And actually this is the rolling pin that belonged to my great-grandmother, so I'll use that one for today. And you're going to want to go ahead and start with the rolling pin down right at the center, or actually towards the back of it. lightly push down away from you, and you're going to get it kind of flat like that. Turn it a quarter and do the same thing again. You're going to try to keep it in a circle, but it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. So you're going to push out a quarter, push out, quarter turn. And the thickness is actually going to be pretty thin, so don't be afraid to put a little bit of muscle as you're rolling out the tortilla dough. And as you can tell, it's starting to stick, so go ahead and add a little bit more flour to both the board and the rolling pin. You're going to keep rolling the dough out, and the goal is to get it as thin as possible. Again, these are going to be Sonora style, so you're going to go for a large tortilla rather than a thick one. And actually, you can kind of tell I'm kind of getting a little bit out of shape. So again, this is where the dough is forgiving. You can go ahead and kind of stretch out the edges a little bit. You can tell it's getting a little bit bigger. Go back to rolling. We'll do another quarter turn. And actually we're almost there. And again, don't worry about it being a perfect circle. Once they're cooked, they don't really last very long for anybody to tell that they're not in a perfect circle. Alright, just kind of give you a look at the thickness. It's pretty thin. While we were rolling up the tortilla, the comal has pretty much been heating up this whole time. So a way to check it if you're at the right temperature to start cooking tortillas is if you get a little bit of water and just kind of stick your fingers in there, and you're going to want to see the water dance on the comal. And we'll go ahead and show you what we mean by dance. So a little bit more just so you can see that. There we go. So it seems like it's almost too hot. It's just right for it to start cooking tortillas. So let's grab it and throw it right on. Pick that out. And once it's on here, go ahead and leave it alone, and it'll start to actually bubble. You're going to leave it on just the one side for about 30 to 40 seconds, possibly a minute, depending on how your dough is that day. So making tortillas can be a lot of fun with the family. You can have the young ones coming in to learn like I did. I learned from my mother, from my grandmother, from my tia who is from Arizona, and she makes hers a little different from how we do it. But alright, so we got a little bit of bubbles here. We can kind of check just a couple more seconds and we should be ready to flip this right over. And if you don't have enough heat calluses on your fingertips, go ahead and use some tongs to flip it. Alright, say about right there. There we go, a little bit of brownness. You got more bubbles forming. Learning different ways of how making tortillas kind of makes you better at it, so you know what works, what doesn't work, and just kind of, again, the different styles. You may find one that's different from how your family makes it, but you may like it the best way. So again, it's a lot of fun, a lot of experimenting on how you make tortillas up here. Once the tortilla is done, it's browned on both sides, go ahead and put it in your tortilla warmer. If you don't have one of these, go ahead and use any pot and a lid or 2 pie pans. Just make sure you have a cloth inside to keep them warm. And just continue on to the next one. Homemade flour tortillas can be a great addition to almost any meal, like carne asada or some carnitas, or it can be the star of a dish, such as a chimichanga, a burrito, or a quesadilla. I hope I've inspired you today to make some flour tortillas of your own at your own home, and hopefully find a style you prefer. If you have any questions or would like to see more recipes, please visit our website and our Facebook page. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for viewing. You're always invited.